All right, guys, here we go. After 2 years of hard work, planning, and building my studio, I finally have the first person that I'm going to be conducting an interview with here in my office. Who do we got here today?
My name is Patrick Breves, a student from Los Medanos Community College.
All right, guys, so stay tuned. Like I said, this is my very first interview. This is groundbreaking, and it might be the pinnacle of my podcasting career for sure. Stay tuned, guys. I got an interview going down right now with Patrick, student from Los Medanos College. We'll be right back here in a couple seconds. Hey, what's up, everybody? That's right, you got it. You know who I am, AndreReese.biz. That's right, guys, AndreReese.biz. Not only do I do taxes, I do a whole bunch of stuff. As you guys know, I do some accounting. I do some bookkeeping. I sell online also, eBay, yep, for sure. And as you guys know, I was born with a magnificent gift. That's right, I can do something that most people on planet Earth can't do. I'm able to see tax deductions and business opportunities everywhere I look. And I'm in the studio right now with Patrick.
Hi.
I'm looking over at him, and I see tax deductions and business opportunities right here across the table from me for sure. Make sure you guys book a consultation. As you guys know, I specialize in helping individuals as well as small businesses get on track to be able to maximize the tax code and minimize the amount of tax that you have to pay. Book a consultation. As you guys know, $195 gets you for about an hour. And of course, this conversation, it's only for educational purposes only.
Yep.
Are you here to give any tax advice, Patrick?
No, I'm not. Here to conduct an informational interview.
Exactly. I'm providing no tax advice, no financial advice. I've never even played an attorney or financial consultant on television for sure. Like I said, book a consultation, $195. Visit me at AndreReese.biz. That's right, guys, AndreReese.biz. And most importantly, you guys always love when you get to the end of my videos. I always appreciate you guys for hanging on, of course, because I'm always going to go through and talk about how we can take something like this here today in an interview with my friend Patrick and turn it into a business opportunity. And most importantly, what type of things are deductible around this conversation. We'll go ahead and go through all those as well. And remember, guys, I am Chatbot AAR3. I talked about this in the last video for sure. I focus on advanced AI system. You guys know what that means. AI stands for my case, answers and information for sure. So go ahead, guys, book a consultation with me as soon as you can. AndreReese.biz. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get started here real quick. We've got, like I said, in the bumper, we have, this is the groundbreaking pinnacle of my podcasting career for sure. I've been trying to work over the last 2 years to try to get to the point where I'm able to finally do an interview. And I got all the equipment in place. I've got everything hooked up. I've got the video equipment working. I finally have a friend here in the studio, Patrick Breves from, he's a student at Los Medanos College in Pittsburg.
Yes.
Welcome.
Hi. How are you?
Not too bad. I'm glad to have you here. You are my very first person that I've ever had a chance to sit down and interview. So I really appreciate you taking your time out of your day to come in and sit down and talk. And let's just kind of go through real quick. I know, and this is the question. Am I interviewing Patrick or is he interviewing me?
I'm going to be interviewing you to gain more information about what it means to be an accountant or to do taxes.
Yep.
And how you like the business world, how you like dealing with finance and people's situations.
Yep. That's going to be the goal of today's conversation. So Patrick will be asking me a bunch of questions. And you know what, guys? I'm curious. I used to be in Patrick's shoes decades ago, and I want to kind of find out why he decided to pursue the field of accounting. And I'm going to ask him some questions also along the way as well.
All right.
So let's kind of just jump into it real quick. How did this whole thing happen, Patrick? What's going on here? How did we end up in this spot?
All right, so I'm taking this career and life planning class at Los Medanos College in Pittsburg. It's a completely online class. I don't get to see the teacher at all.
Okay.
But an assignment popped up about interviewing someone who is in the career, or let me rephrase this. I have to interview somebody who is in the career you want to pursue. So I chose an accountant because I'm really interested in becoming an accountant someday. I really love business. I've taken business classes in high school. In Heritage High School, I went there.
Okay.
And I was a bookkeeper for Preferred American Instrument Company, and I really liked that.
Okay.
I worked for my dad. He owned a machine shop in downtown Brentwood, and his business was called Preferred American Instrument Company.
Okay.
So that's kind of why I chose accounting. I love finance. I like business. And so back to the class, an assignment popped up, and we have to do an interview, or 2 interviews actually. And luckily, I came across AAR3 accounting, Andre, of course. And I looked on Google, looked up accounting firms around me here in Brentwood. And so the first thing that popped up was this business. And I gave you a phone call asking for an interview.
Awesome.
And
I remember.
And I just scheduled an appointment through texting. So that's how we stumbled across each other.
Yep, most definitely. And so you also had to reach out to a number of other accounting people to try to see if you can schedule a secondary interview as well?
Yes.
How did that go?
Not too good. Yeah, there's a place, I'm trying to remember. There's a place.
Let's not name anybody
away,
at all.
Yeah, there's a place far away that in which I called, and they didn't respond the first day, and then the next day I called them, and they didn't even respond. So I'm thinking they're busy during this tax season. And finally, I came across the accountant that we did business with, called Douglas and Hornberger. And I was able to schedule an appointment with somebody there. So,
okay. All right.
And of course, you too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges that you're going to find. And one of the things that I do that really sets me aside, and this is kind of one of the questions I think you kind of had, kind of jump in the script here a little bit.
Yeah.
But one of the things that sets that it really is a challenge when it comes to the profession is trying to get a hold of somebody to answer your questions. And so so you have a perfect example. You reached out to me, and almost immediately I got back to you.
Yes.
Yep. And so
just fine.
Yeah. And that's something, and I hear this all the time when I have clients that call, even if they call me on a Saturday or Sunday evening. They are absolutely surprised that I pick up the phone, I answer, or respond back to text. So that's always going to be an incredible opportunity if you decide to get into this profession, is to be able to work on your basic, customer service skills. Because if you're not able to answer the phone, you're not able to answer your clients' questions, even if you can't help them because it's outside of what you normally do.
Yeah, I actually work at a grocery store, and I'm a cashier, so I already know about that.
Yeah, no, exactly. So it's definitely an opportunity that is available if you ever decide to go into business for yourself here, for sure. And so that's how we got started. So Patrick reached out to me, and he had he wanted to sit down and have an interview. And like I said, I've been looking for an opportunity on my end to be able to have somebody come in and sit down so I can test out my equipment and have an interview. And so these two things, the stars, the sun, the moon, everything all aligned here. And here we go with an interview. And I'm definitely excited to have Patrick here in studio with me and, answer all of his questions as well.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit more about yourself, Patrick, and what's going on with you in your life.
Well, I'm just living at home, going to school, and working part-time at a grocery store. I think I mentioned that.
Yeah.
At Winco Foods.
Okay.
And,
let's try not to mention any names at all.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good.
Going to school at Los Medanos College. Beginning this semester, I actually took 5 classes, and that was, oh my, that was stressful.
Yeah.
And
So a full load.
I had to withdraw from one of them.
Yeah.
Because it was too much for me. And so, yeah, taking classes full time and going to school part time.
Okay.
And living at home, doing work, and that's about it. That's all I'm doing right now.
Okay, I got you. And so, how old are you?
I am 18 years old.
Okay, so you're a youngster. All right.
Yes,
So you graduated, you said, from Heritage
High School last
Okay.
year, 2022.
Okay.
Class of 2022. So
Okay.
yeah.
And then now you're kind of on the path of trying to pursue the education requirements to become an accountant, it sounds like.
Yes. My goal is to obtain a associate's degree in accounting and also an associate's degree for transfer in business administration. And then planning on transferring to a 4-year and then acquiring a business administration bachelor's degree,
Awesome.
accounting concentration. So,
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
So where are you thinking about, so once you get done at Los Medanos, how much time do you think you have left before you're done there at the pace that you've been taking your classes?
I think about 2 to 3 years, I would say.
Okay. All right. That's
That's-
about typical.
I might work during the summer full time.
Yeah.
And just save up money for college.
Okay.
I'm planning on transferring to probably Cal State East Bay.
Okay. That's where I went to school.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Or I was thinking about CSU Stanislaus. I believe it's in the Central Valley.
Okay.
And then also Idaho State University in Pocatello.
Okay.
That's where my great uncle lives.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. And then at some point, once you get your bachelor's degree, you're going to go out into the world and start working, I'm assuming, right?
Of course.
Yeah. And so so there's a number of different, when it comes to accounting, there is more or less, there's a line. So there's a line that's pretty hard. There's the GL, which is what?
General ledger?
Yep, the general ledger.
Yeah.
So there's 2 sides of the general ledger. There's people that are supporting the general ledger, and there's folks that are opposing the general ledger. And so when it comes to becoming an accountant, you have to choose a side. So if you're going to be supporting the general ledger, you're going to end up working for a company. You're going to work on payroll, you're going to work on paying bills, you're going to work on receiving cash that comes in. You're going to record all the transactions that come in, be able to produce financial statements, talk to the ownership about that. Then on the opposite side is the opposition, and those are the auditors. And so if you decide you want to become a CPA or you want to get the external exposure to the GL, you have to go through the path of becoming an auditor. And so what typically happens is you're going to end up, graduating from college with a 4-year degree, make plans to sit for the CPA exam, whatever it might be, but you're going to end up working for a public accounting firm. And the thing that's exciting about a public accounting firm is that you're able to go around a lot of different types of companies and see how they do their books. And it's your job to determine if what they're doing is okay. And so there's a point where you have to make a decision on where you decide you want to be in the accounting world. If you want to be on the opposite side of the GL, or you want to support the GL. And so in my career, what I did is I started out, I went to Ohlone College in Fremont. And this is kind of one of the questions that you had. I went to Ohlone College in Fremont and got my AA degree in business administration, and then transferred to Cal State Hayward. At the time, it was Cal State Hayward. It's now, East Bay. And I did real well. I actually came back as a returning student, so I started out from high school, went to Ohlone, and then did poorly, failed out, and then came back, failed out again, came back, failed out. And at some point, the school kind of said, hey, take some time off, figure out what you want to do, and we'll see you at another point. So I kind of went out and worked for a while. And then I got to the point where I eventually came and realized that I need to get an education. So I think I was probably 25 or 26 at that point, and came back and became a student all over again. And I approached education at a whole different level than I did the first time around. I sat in front of all my classes, I took notes, I asked questions, I did all my homework, and I did well in the accounting program at Ohlone. And then I eventually transferred over to Cal State Hayward because they had a really good business program. They had, if you were looking at getting into public accounting, they had really good relationships with all the firms. They would all come there and recruit. And so that's what I did. I transferred there. And I remember one of the most difficult things about becoming a student at upper division level is my first accounting class. I came from making A's at Ohlone, and then when I got to Cal State Hayward, I failed out of accounting. My very first couple tests, I got F's on them. And I was devastated, as you can imagine. And I had put so much energy and effort around trying to become an accountant that I felt at that point that my life was over, that everything I was working hard for to become, accounting-wise, become an accountant was in jeopardy. And so I had to really focus and learn how to restudy, and take everything page by page, problem by problem, until I got to the point where I started doing real well again. And so once that happened, I went through that initial shock of transferring to a 4-year college. Things worked out great, and I think when I was at Ohlone, or when I was at Cal State Hayward, I ended up graduating with an option in accounting, which is basically a major. And I also did 2 additional options, one in finance and one in marketing. So my degree on the wall up there, it shows I have an A degree from Ohlone College, but I also have a bachelor's of science with 3 majors from Cal State Hayward. I have the accounting, finance, and marketing. And then I also continued on and got my MBA in strategic management from Cal State Hayward. So I continued while I was working out there in the field, doing my thing, getting my hours, learning how the whole thing worked. I was also taking still 1 class a night. I think it took me about 3 years to get my MBA degree. And then I think my goal all the way along in this whole process when I went back was I've always had an interest in investing, finances. I never knew as a child, how to read financial statements. And so I had made a few, and the whole, you got to keep in mind, the whole industry is different now when it comes to, investing. You can get all this information now online. Back when I was a kid learning about this stuff, if you wanted to see how much Google was selling for, you had to wait till the newspaper came out and check the next day. So things have really changed a lot. But the reason why I wanted to get into that is because, accounting is the language of business. Every business on this planet that functions needs an accountant. I don't care if they're selling AI chatbots, or they're selling cannabis products. Every business needs to keep track of their income, their expenses. The management needs to know how they're doing. And so that's why I kind of got into this profession, so.
Of course.
Yep.
Very interesting.
Yep, for sure.
All right. And can you tell me a typical day on the job?
And this is the thing, this business is very diverse, and so from where I first started in my career to where I am now, I'm self-employed, fully self-employed.
Very nice.
So I am in charge of my life and what I want to do, and so being self-employed, I work a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you at all, but I enjoy what I do completely, and so to me, every day is a Saturday. And so once you get to the point where you start working, for the man, so to speak, and you're punching the clock, putting in long hours, you're going to find that having to commute to the location, put in your 8, 9, 10, 12-hour day, then get back home, try to get something to eat and go to sleep, it turns into a grind after a while. And so you look forward to Friday evenings because you get to get off. Saturday's like the best day because you get to sleep in, hang out, lay low, watch some television, do some shopping, play some games or whatever it might be. Sunday gets to be a little bit hectic because you are starting to stress about going back to work on Monday. So Saturday is really the best day that you can have. As an entrepreneur, for me, every day is a Saturday, meaning that I decide every day I wake up, believe it or not, between 3 and 5 o'clock in the morning.
Very nice.
Yeah. And so I don't set an alarm clock. I just get up. And then oftentimes what I'll do is I'll go to my computer, I'll get on, I'll look and see what's going on. I have some basic objectives for the day, clients I might have to take care of. I have client deadlines I have to take care of also as well. I have 2 different businesses where I do the accounting, the tax, and I also sell online. So depending upon what's happened overnight or I'm carrying forward from the day before, I'll start working on stuff, and then I usually work until about, 8, 9, or 10. And then I may take a break and do something else. and then I go back to work. So what I typically do is I work, like I said, I work a lot, and to me it doesn't feel like it's work. So I'm more or less always constantly managing my clients' expectations and my own personal expectations for being able to do stuff. So if I want to go watch a movie, I decide what movie I want to watch. I schedule the time to go do that. And then I work up to the point where it's time for me to stop and go watch the movie. When I get done watching the movie, I'll come back home. I usually oftentimes will work. If I'm tired, I'll take a nap and go to sleep, whatever it might be. But like today, for example, Tuesday, so I've got you coming in today. We're sitting down having this interview, and I have two other interviews that are coming. Actually, not interview. I have two other clients that are coming today. I have a client that's been one of mine for probably about 5 years or so. Majority of my practice is virtual, but a lot of my older clients like to come in and sit down and talk. And so she'll be coming in. We'll be talking about her life, what's happened over the last year, catching up. And then I will also scan all her documents, collect payment, and give everything back to her, and then she'll be gone. And I have another client coming in today that's a brand new client. That's a referral. She's a little bit older also as well. She wants to come in and sit down, have a conversation about her taxes. She'll give me all of her documents. I'll collect payment and then send her on her way. So these clients, I'll go ahead and process all the stuff that is happening that they provide me along with everybody else. And then once I'm done, I'll finalize everything with them, get signatures, and I'll transmit everything to the IRS and the state. And then later on this evening, I'll be headed back home. I'm going to be stopping by to help my mom out real quick for a couple hours. There's a couple items that are tech related that I'll be handling for her, getting her set up with those. And then I'll go home and eat tonight, work some more. And then at some point when I get tired, I'll fall asleep. And then I'll get up tomorrow and do some variations of that. I think tomorrow I have no interviews. I have no appointments scheduled. But the only thing I have on the books tomorrow is to go to the movies. I'm going to go watch that new Ant-Man movie. Have you seen it?
I have not, to be honest. I'm not into superheroes or anything, to be honest.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I'm not either. I can care less. But I have an A-list movie pass from AMC, so I pay $25 a month for it, and I get to watch 3 movies a week.
Nice.
So I typically would only go watch maybe 1 or 2 or 3, maybe 5 movies at most a year. But what I do now is I go watch 3 movies a week. So I pretty much see everything that comes out. That's kind of what I basically do. So hopefully that answers your question there.
Yeah. And how have things changed during the pandemic? After, before, how have things changed?
Well, I'll tell you what, not much for me, but I know that it's affected a lot of other people. Now, the way in this profession, folks are either new school or they're old school, and there's a lot of old school folks. And old school folks have a tendency to want to do things that aren't super efficient. They will make appointments. They'll have their clients come in, sit down. Some of them will actually prepare the tax returns while they're sitting there with their clients, and then have them sign everything. And but I think the most inefficient thing is that they will see clients face to face. So in order for them to work, they require the clients to come in, drop off documents. They make copies of them. They give the stuff back, or they keep them and then they give all the stuff back when the tax return is completed. And they have the client also come back in and pick up the stuff. So what's happened now in the profession is during COVID, you couldn't do that, especially in California. A lot of the stuff was all shut down. So it forced a lot of people to kind of go to a more remote type of functionality with their clients.
Yeah.
And
using Zoom and
using Zoom, talking on the phone, all that. And so with me, I'll tell you, when I first started, I've been in business now for 22 years, I think it is. When I first started initially, this was back in, I guess, probably right after September 11th is when I started. And so back then, all these different tools like Adobe, Zoom, laptops were huge and heavy. This stuff wasn't all available at all. And so what I used to do when I would go meet my clients, I would actually go to their house. And so if somebody brand new, I get a referral, I go actually to their house and I'd sit at their kitchen table. And so sometimes they make me a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and give me a slice of cake and something to drink or whatever it would be. But I would actually get their documents from them, talk about their, what they have going on. And I'd bring the stuff back to my tax lab. I prepare the tax return, then I turn around and take the stuff back to their house and have them sign, because I didn't have an office at all. And so, and eventually as I started to get more and more clients, and I was still also working full time at the time. So I was kind of trying to build my practice on the side, and so it got to the point where after a couple years, that was no longer effective or efficient. And so what I ended up starting to do is I started to figure out ways that I can do things electronically. And so email, believe it or not, was starting to become a lot more popular. And so people had the ability at that point to start, scanning documents, or they were starting to get documents that were, in a PDF form. So I started at that point getting documents that would be sent to me electronically. I'd process people's returns and send them everything back in the mail, and then they would sign their tax returns and they'd mail them off. So even e-filing wasn't super prevalent like it is now. It's almost a requirement. Back then, people still sent in a lot of their returns for paper. So as time's gone on, I have taken my practice and gotten to the point now where I have clients now that are here in Antioch, Brentwood, Pittsburgh that I've never met before. And I've been doing their taxes for 4 or 5 or 6 years, maybe even longer. And what I do now is I do everything electronically through the portal. So I set up a portal for my clients. I send them a link. They're able to upload all their documents there. And then I download them. I process the return, finalize the return, upload it back. And then along the way, if there's issues, questions, or whatever, I'll talk to them on the phone or I'll text them. And then we finalize the return and we're basically done. So for me, I already had a very electronic process before. And like I said, I only have a few clients that want to come in every year and sit down and meet face to face, and so how the pandemic has helped me is that I've had some clients that were a little bit more resistant to technology, but as they were required to deal with working remotely, especially for their W-2 job, they became a lot more versed in dealing with scanning stuff, uploading stuff, and taking it to the next level so that we can have even more electronic remote relationship. So overall, what's happened with the industry is that hopefully people have become a lot more efficient. It hasn't affected me very much, except for the fact that I have more clients now that are willing, that have the technology at home to be able to do this, But as a whole, I think a lot of people have been resistant before in the past to adopting technology. And that's one of the big drivers, and one of the big drivers for change now for sure is COVID, trying to keep people still using technology going forward in your clients. And I think that it's a beneficial effort to everybody. And like I said, the majority of my clients now, I can travel anywhere in the United States. So I have a whole complete mobile office set up where I can go down and go see my son in San Antonio, hang out down there, and I can completely run my business, and people don't have any idea where I'm at, and so it's allowed me to even push further to become even more portable. And I think even during the summertime last year, I was away from home probably for about 3 months or so, helping to solve a problem, with one of my friends. And I was remote the whole time, and people had no idea what was going on. So I think understanding the technology and using the technology has really definitely helped, alleviate a lot of some of the stress before. But hopefully, it still continues to be, a positive force going forward with the industry. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay, awesome.
And what is your favorite part of doing this, accounting, bookkeeping, and tax preparing?
I think I'll tell you what. You look like an accountant.
I do.
You do. You look just like an accountant.
Thank you.
So, would you say you're an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm an introvert.
Okay, yeah. And I'll tell you what, most of us, believe it or not, I am an introvert.
Wow.
Yeah, I am an introvert. And so diagnosed introvert, Sigma male, so. But the thing is, my mind enjoys solving problems and puzzles. And I'm also a very outgoing, giving person. So this business allows me to do those two things that I really enjoy, that I really love, And so every time I have a new client that comes in and they sit down with me, they present me with a problem, And so I have to use my social skills and my experience that I've gained over the decades to be able to try to figure out what I can do quickly to solve their problem, and then solve their problem for them, and then make sure that they are happy with how I solve their problem. So that's one of the things I really enjoy about my day is I'm constantly moving from puzzle to puzzle to puzzle to puzzle, problem to problem to problem to problem, you know. And so when I was a young kid going to elementary school, junior high school, I used to love things that allowed me to solve and fix and build stuff. You know, back in the day when the Rubik's Cube first came out, I was one of the fastest kids in the school that was able to solve the Rubik's Cube. You know, so I saw it as a challenge. You know, and if you look at my website, you'll see me actually looking at a Rubik's Cube. You know, because it's a puzzle. So that's one of the things I really enjoy about what I do is I'm able to solve my clients' problems.
Very nice.
Yep.
And what's the least favorite part of your job or your career?
You know what? I don't have a least favorite part. I mean, really, to be honest with you, I enjoy everything that I do, and that's the thing is, when I worked for somebody else before in the past, I had to eat the spoonfuls of poop that they would serve me every day, and I had to smile and say thank you. You know, and so when you're self-employed, it's hard to do, very difficult to do. And so, but the thing about it is I have complete control over my life and what I want to do. And so I decide on what kind of clients I want. I decide on what type of engagements I want to handle. I decide on how much work I want to do. I decide when I want to work. And so I don't have, there's nothing that I don't enjoy about where I am right now in my life. Before in the past, you could have asked me that 10, 15 years ago, the answer would have been different. But I think my advice to you is that as you are progressing through your career, you're going to run across a whole bunch of stuff that you like and that you don't like. Part of your job is to be able to get information and understanding. That way you can have a large amount of expertise so you can decide to work how and when you want to work. And I think that being a business owner, owning a business, or sitting high up in a company definitely gives you the ability to be able to do that type of stuff for sure.
All right. And that answers my question. Thank you. And what surprised you the most when you started working in this field?
I think initially when I was in public accounting, I think one of the you'll go through and you're forced to learn a whole bunch of stuff, take a bunch of tests, learn a lot of lingo, etc. In the end, a lot of that you won't use at all. You know, and I think what it is, it's a training ground to be able to get your mind to the point where you can think in a kind of a more creative, but sometimes abstract kind of way. And because, like I said, when you're dealing with clients, no two clients are the same, but there's a general theory, just like people. You can have a brother and a sister. They came from the same parents, but they can be completely different personality-wise. And so you have to take the time to be able to understand what drives each individual, child or brother and sister. And it's the same thing when it comes to accounting. You have a general understanding of how things work, but your job is really to, kind of go in with a clean slate and try to understand what they do and come up with an opinion if it's effective or not. And so that's kind of one of the things that I realized in my early on in my career was that a lot of stuff I learned in school, I didn't necessarily use it in the day-to-day job. And I'll give you an example. When I first started working in accounting, when I was doing public accounting, it's almost like it's sink or swim. So they will put you in situations where, and I think probably the best way I can describe this, imagine if you were a commando marksman and you knew how to assassinate presidents of other countries, and you had this particular skill. So imagine you go to the briefing room, you sit down, you're there, they point out where the rally point is, they tell you this is what you got to do, this is what the objective is, but they say you got exactly 72 hours to get in there, assassinate the president, and make it back to the rally point. And if you don't make it back to the rally point, we'll wait for you for 5 minutes. And if you're not back, we're gone. And we're not coming back to get you, and we're going to tell everybody that we didn't know anything about you in the first place. That's really kind of how it is in public accounting a lot of times. A lot of times you'll be put into situations that will push you to your absolute limit. And you're going to have to dig deep, and look at everything that you've done in your life to try to figure out how you're going to get through it and survive, get the information that you need, get the work papers done, and to be able to write up all this stuff. That way, when they come back and they ask questions, that you already have the information and answers. And if you don't, then you can get left behind in your career. So I think that's probably one of the most enlightening things to learn. So, my advice to anybody that's going into this profession is to learn as much as you can, and then also too, you have to work on your social skills. You have to be able to get along with the clients. You got to be able to get along with the people that you work with. And you got to also try to align yourself with individuals that will take you under their wing, so that if anything happens, you have somebody that you can go to get information and get help from. Because if not, you'll end up being, they'll show up with the helicopter, they'll wait 5 minutes, and if you're not there, they're gone. And so you got to find your own way home and your own way to get back.
All right. Yeah. Thank you. And I know this may seem uncomfortable or personal to you, but what is the typical salary range for an accountant?
It really depends. It really depends, at what you do. And so, if you're working for a W-2 employer, of course, if you're going to be working for a really large corporation, Google, Facebook, Amazon, one of those types of large companies, General Motors, the larger the company, the more you will get paid, but the less you will be exposed to. And a lot of your compensation will oftentimes come from, stock options. When I first started my first career, my first job, when I got out of college, I got $50,000. This was like back in 2000, I think is what it was. I think my initial salary was $35,000 is what they offered me. And then at the time it was the dot-com boom, and a lot of people were leaving public accounting and working for industry. And then so what they did is they bumped all of us first years coming in up to $50,000. So I think at some point, as I climbed through my career, I started out as a staff accountant, went to a senior accountant, became a financial analyst, eventually became an accounting manager, controller, also became a director, director of accounting, finance, HR along the way. And I think the last amount that I made in industry was probably around 120 or so. But I was working for a smaller company. If I was working for a larger company at the time in that position, it would have been probably closer to, $200K. But as a self-employed individual, the money that we earn is different than a W-2 employee. So a W-2 employee earns their income, they get taxed immediately, and the government doesn't care what you have left over. If you got to pay for your car, you got to pay for your kids, you got to buy groceries. At the end of the year, if you only have, $500 left in your account, they want tax on the full amount that you owed. And so when it comes to being a self-employed individual, owning your own tax practice, it's easy for you to earn $100,000 to $200,000 a year based upon how many clients that you have and who you are taking care of. But our income is different. It's a lot more potent because we earn our income first, and we are allowed to deduct all of our expenses away from it. And then in the end, we only pay tax on what's left over. And so if anything that relates to your business, these microphones, computers, software, your office rent, supply costs, whatever they may be, those things are all expenses that you're able to deduct against your business as a business owner. And so you can earn a whole lot more money or even a whole lot less money, but in the end, you're going to end up paying a whole lot less tax than a person does as a W-2 employee. So most people that I know that are self-employed in this industry somewhere that are dealing with similar types of clients as me, they're around the 200K gross range a year, somewhere in that range.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
That answers my question. And how do you see this industry changing in the future?
That's a good question. I don't know if I necessarily have an answer for that. And so kind of thinking about it, the one thing that will always be required is all businesses require the use of accountants. So I think accountants have to become a lot more flexible, a lot more aware of their clients' needs. And these are things that have always been there before in the past, and be able to also fully adopt technology. So one of the biggest things now is GPT, the AI, chatbot. So could the AI chatbot take over preparing your tax return? Could it take over doing your accounting, running your QuickBooks? I don't know. Anything is completely possible, but there's always going to be a certain level of expertise. And I think the more and more, I think when I first started out in this profession, I used to wear my credentials on my sleeve. And I would let everybody know I've graduated, I've got an education, I got a degree. I think what's happened now is people don't care what my education is, what my background is, where it came from. They're only concerned with knowing that I can solve their problem, And so I think that that will always be an issue going forward, is that being able to sit down, listen to your clients, understand what their needs are, to be able to solve their problems. And so you're going to have technology, you're going to have tools in the background that you can use to support yourself to be able to get things done a lot more effective and a lot more efficiently. But I think in the end, the basic stuff will always be there. Talking to your clients, understanding your clients, and being able to provide a solution that they need to be able to get the information so that they can make decisions on their business and do what they need to do. So I don't know if there will be a big upsurgence in accounting. And I'll tell you, I have a lot of clients before in the past that have used technology solutions online to prepare their taxes, or to help them with their accounting without having that basic knowledge. They produce garbage is what it ultimately is. So I think that's always going to be outshine anything that may happen as far as technology, is having an understanding of, how to complete and finalize stuff and provide an effective solution for your clients.
All right. Thank you. And what advice would you give someone trying to go into this field of work?
I would say make sure that you really want to do this. and I think that it's really critical to have the right mentality and temperament for this profession, and so being a business owner and I'll tell you, over the years, a lot of the people I've worked with in public accounting and even in accounting departments, they're all introverts. A lot of them have social anxiety. They have social skill deficits, and so this profession allows you to interface with technology and do the work, and so I think my advice for anybody that wants to do this or do anything is just make sure that whatever you decide you want to do, it aligns with who you are. And so if you are a very outgoing person, you are a very life of the party, being an accountant may not be your thing, but if you are, partially introverted or fully introverted, you have your moments here and there, this may be a great profession for you to, decide to be in, and so I think it's really important to always know who you are at the core and try to make sure that not just in your work, but everything else that you do in your life supports who you are on a personality level as well.
All right. Thank you. And what are employees typically looking for when hiring people in this line of work?
I think it really depends. So if there's a shortage of employees that are available, you want to try to find somebody, a warm body for the seat that can get the work done. But I think ultimately what any employer would want to have is somebody that functions and acts like an entrepreneur. And so what is the entrepreneurial mindset? The entrepreneurial mindset is ownership and responsibility and accountability. So I've gone and worked for a lot of very small companies in my life where there's a problem. And what happens when somebody, you've heard the saying before, when there's roaches on the floor, you turn the light on, what happens?
I'm honestly not sure.
So you never had roaches at the house? Okay.
I don't think I've heard of that saying before.
Yeah, so essentially roaches will come out at night and they're all over the kitchen. But when you come into the kitchen at night to get a glass of water, you turn the light on, they scatter. They're gone. Yes. So the light scares them and they run and go hide. And so there's a lot of companies where individuals that work there, they play the blame game. Nobody wants to take responsibility. When there's a problem, the first thing that happens is everybody points different directions or they run and hide. And so I think that if you can make yourself out to be somebody that takes ownership of everything that's around you, that it's your responsibility. Because for me, if I don't do it, it's not going to happen at all. There's nobody I can rely upon to do it at all. There's nobody I can ask to do it. Everything that affects me and my business every day, I have to do it. And so I've always had that same mindset where when I've worked for other companies in my accounting career, that even though I did not own the business, I acted like I owned the business, that I was responsible for it. So anything that came into my path, I took on responsibility for it. I solved the problem and I fixed it. And so that allowed me to do a couple things. One is that allowed me to increase my skill set. And two, that allowed me to increase my ability to see the big picture. So when things are coming my way in the future that may disrupt where I am, I can solve those problems in advance before they actually get to the point where they're out of control. So I think that if anybody that decides they want to get a job these days, if you can impress to the employer that you are learning, you're eager to learn, you're trying to solve problems as much as possible, but you want to take responsibility and ownership for everything around you, and I think that would make anybody stand out against the competition these days for sure.
All right.
Yep.
That seems interesting. All right. And I think you mentioned your educational background. You said you obtained a transfer degree from which college?
Yeah, I went to Ohlone College as a returning student, and I think I started back when I was 25, and then I got an A degree in business administration. Then I transferred immediately to Cal State Hayward, which eventually became East Bay, and I did a triple major there. I did undergraduate in accounting, finance, and marketing. And from there, I started working full-time on my career in the accounting profession. I was working for one of the largest CPA firms in the world. At the time, it was the Big Five. I guess it's probably the Final Four now is what they call them.
I heard about that.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I worked for one of them, and then I ended up working for a smaller CPA firm in Oakland after I got laid off. I'll tell you what, getting laid off is something that is good for everybody. So right now, there's a lot of folks that are getting laid off. I think it's something that is good for anyone to be able to assess where you are. It's kind of a chance to pump the brakes, but that did happen to me along the way there. But like I said, in the end, while I was working, I finished up my MBA degree in strategic management from Cal State Hayward, or Cal State East Bay. Is kind of what my educational pathway was, for sure.
Very nice. And I think you mentioned this before, but in the age of artificial intelligence, do you believe that the role of an accountant is going to disappear?
No, I don't think so. I really don't. If anything, I think what people have to really understand is these AI systems have been training and working for decades now, a lot of them right under our noses. And so most of these AI systems kind of just sit in a box and they don't function unless they're interacted with. And they're working off of vast amounts of data that they've been trained on to be able to try to come out with problems. And so if you have an iPhone, for example, and you're typing out a text and it's deciding on what word is going to come next, that's a very similar type of AI function. So a lot of times you could be typing a sentence out and the next word that you want to use is there. Oftentimes the word you want to use is not there at all. And so these are just predictive models of what's already happened and them trying to determine what can be in place going forward. And I think that just based upon my experience and what I've done and what I've seen, it's not easy for computers to be able to understand completely how transactions should be recorded. So there's probably some very, very easy reoccurring things that AI can take advantage of. But I think the more advanced stuff, it's going to be very, very difficult for it to be able to take over the profession. But like I said, you should always focus on a specialty and as you progress in your career, to be able to interpret what AI produces, to be able to determine, how you can provide that information to management. And I'll give you an example real quick of when I was a kid. I was born in '68, so I'm 55 years old. And so there was a point where when we went to the bank when I was a kid, we didn't have cell phones and that type of stuff.
Yeah.
If I got a $20 allowance from my dad from cutting the grass for like 2 or 3 weeks, I'd have to take that money and go to the bank.
Yeah.
And so I'd get the passbook, I take the money to the bank, and then I give it to the teller. Then they fill out a form, and they take the $20 and put it in the bank. Then they take my book and they'd stamp it. And then they'd say, on this particular date, he gave us $20. So that was a record of what my deposits were. If I needed $20 from the bank or $40 from the bank, I'd have to wait for the bank to open up and then go inside and get my money, bring my passbook, have them stamp it, that $40 has been taken out of my account. So one of the things that happened in the industry is they said, brace for impact. ATM machines are coming. So ATM is an automatic teller machine. And so you're going to be able to go to the bank, take cash out, deposit cash. You're going to be able to do a lot of the basic functions that are going to be very similar to what you would normally need a teller for. And guess what's supposed to happen with all that? The tellers are going to lose their jobs. So have you been to a bank? So the place you work at now, do you guys have a bank there?
No.
No? Okay.
Well,
right.
we do have an ATM.
Okay, an ATM. All right. So do you ever go into the bank at all?
Yes, I do.
And what do you see when you go into the bank?
I see tellers.
Yeah.
And bankers.
You see a bunch of tellers, and you see usually a long-ass line, right?
No. Actually, no, I don't.
Okay. All right. Usually, there's maybe once a year that I need to go to a bank to get a transaction taken care of. And so every time I go to the bank, I always see a long line inside. And if I'm ever at Safeway, or if I'm ever at a store that has a bank built into it, if you go there on a Saturday, the line is like out the door. And so you figure 30 plus years later, ATMs were supposed to replace bank tellers, and there's still lines. And so the bank machines handle a certain level of transactions. We even have a lot more stuff we can do on our phones now. We can transfer money, we can Venmo people, we can PayPal people, we can Cash App people. But when you go into a bank, there's still a long line, and there's still tellers at the window.
Actually, sometimes, yeah.
Yeah,
there are long lines.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. So when you kind of rewind that back to where we are with the accounting profession, so can more technology affect people? I think so. And I think even at one point, the big thing that they talked about was offshoring your accounting departments to India, to the Philippines.
I heard about that.
Yeah, and so that's been going on now for decades.
For cheaper labor.
Exactly. But I'm still here in business, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that as long as you stay on top of the game and you have a specialty, and be aware of the trends, I think you'll be okay.
All right.
I think you will be.
Yeah, thank you. And how many clients does a typical accountant usually have? Like you, an individual sole proprietorship business type?
I've been building my client base for 22 years now. So I don't have the exact, and this is the thing. I have some clients that I do taxes for. They disappear. They might be gone for 1, 2, 3 years. Then they come back and they've got 3 years worth of taxes they haven't filed. And I do them all at one time, so whatever happens. I have other clients that may rotate in and out. So I probably have, in total, I probably have somewhere between 200 and 300 clients that I handle. So
nice.
And I think that, I'm always getting new clients. Then I also have clients that fall out the back end as well. And so what I try to do now is I don't want just any client. So there's a certain type of client that I market for, that I attract. And I'm not afraid to tell people that they are not compatible with me and my practice. So the typical client I deal with right now is somebody that there's folks out there that are looking around for the lowest price to prepare a tax return. They want to get their taxes done for $50, $60. I don't do that. The lowest price that I will charge for, if you came in right now with your single W-2 from your job working at the grocery store, I charge $305. All my prices are on my website, so I'm not doing anything unusual here. But that's all part of a package. I'm not just preparing your return. I'm somebody that's here to answer questions for you during the year as you decide to grow. As you run into financial issues and problems or things pop up, I'm here to answer your questions, and I'm trying to build long-term relationships. So there's people that want one-night stands when it comes to life, love, but also when it comes to taxes. They're searching for the lowest person that will provide them the most money back. I'm looking for long-term relationships. So if I'm dealing with a client that calls me and then they're starting to ask me a lot of questions about how much I charge, I know right off the bat within 5 seconds they're not my client. And so I explain what I do, and I tell them what I do, and then I tell them, obviously, you are not my client, so I can't help you. And so some of those people snap out, and they're like, oh, well, that's just my mindset where I am. What you provide is what I'm actually looking for, But other ones are like, okay, thank you. I'm gonna keep calling around to try to find somebody that's gonna do my tax return for $20, And so that's kind of where I am with my clients. The clients I have, I considered them all to be my family, my friends, my cousins, And so, and I explain this in this sense. You may have family members that you don't see all the time, right?
Yeah.
And you may not talk to them, you may not see them at all. But when you turn around, you run into them again, what happens? It's like you pick up where you left off at. And so I have family members, I have cousins, I have friends that I may not have seen in years. Matter of fact, I just talked to one of my friends from college the other day that we haven't talked, and we were trying to figure out 5, 6, or 7 years. She's relocated up north. And we picked up right where we left off at. The same banter, the same laughter, the same jokes, just catching up. And so all my clients are the same way. So when we prepare taxes, I'm assuming that if they need something during the year, I'm always available to answer their questions. But next year, we pick up right where we left off at. So we're laughing, having a good time, talking about life, family, making jokes, all that type of stuff. So that's the type of client that I deal with. And so the amount that I have, like I said, it's somewhere in the 200 or 300 range. I have a very personal client base. But there's other people that have 1,000+ clients, but they have a lot of employees that work for them also as well. I've worked for some of those people before as well. You don't have a personal relationship with your people. All you're more or less doing at that point is just grinding, trying to get the money in the door, and your goal is to minimize discussing anything with your clients at all possible, because you just need to get the work done as soon as possible. I've charged my clients a decent amount of money. That way I can still have relationship with them, to be able to talk to them, to be able to get along with them. And a lot of my clients were friends, so we hang out, we go eat, we go do stuff, we get together with our ladies, we go hang out, we go to shows, whatever it might be. So my client base, like I said, they're my friends and my family. And anybody I bring on new, I want to make sure that they fit into that mold. And if they don't, I don't need them in my life at all.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting. And what occupations or careers are similar to accounting?
Similar to accounting? Well, I mean, of course you have accounting, you have finance, you have you have bookkeeping, so those are all very, very similar. So anybody can be a bookkeeper. A bookkeeper is somebody that just takes information, records it in the computer. So then you're going to have the next level is going to be the accountants. The accountants will take the information that the bookkeeper put into the system. They will make sure it's okay, cleaned up, presentable. Then they will present that information, to management oftentimes, and so that's kind of like the next level. Then the next level on top of that are the finance people, and so finance people kind of sit above the bookkeeping and the accounting folks. So finance takes the information that the accounting and bookkeeping staff puts together, and then they make decisions with it. So they're trying to determine if we want to invest in $1 million piece of equipment, how soon can we get that paid back based upon our cash flow coming in? Do we have enough money to be able to sustain those payments? They're looking at budgeting also as well. We think we're going to bring in $15 million this year, but in order for us to do that, we need to have this much in staff, this much in equipment, this much in other supplies, whatever it might be. So they're kind of pre-planning the business in advance based upon the accounting itself. So those are kind of the different levels there that you're looking at. So within the profession, those are all very, very similar. Then on the flip side, you can always get out into the other side of finance, which is, becoming a personal financial,
Advisor.
Yeah, there you go, an advisor. So in a personal advisor, they generally, very similar to finance, they have an understanding of accounting oftentimes to be able to understand, financial statements, balance sheets, income statements, cash flow statements, that type of stuff, to be able to understand all the details of the financials that the companies put out. But they're also able to take and understand, individuals, what their requirements are, look at their lifestyle and their timeline, and determine how much money they may eventually want to have set aside. That way they can, function at the same level when they retire. So those are some of the very, very similar things that you're going to find within the accounting profession or finance profession. Then there's other things too that are similar. I think if you're a good accountant, you probably can be a good engineer as well. You have to learn a different language, but you're ultimately solving problems and building models. And so I've done it a lot of my career being in finance, where I've built these super complicated spreadsheets that are all linked together. And I'm able to get information from people, interview them, build these models. So in the end, I can ask a person a question, and they can say, well, management can say, hey, what about if we just did this one thing? I can go find that piece of data, update it, and then the whole model all completely changes. And so to be able to build that interconnectivity, I think it's going to be very similar to what you're going to find from somebody that might be a software engineer building systems and kind of in the background there, for sure.
All right. And do you have any coworkers or anything? Or how many coworkers do you work with to accomplish tasks in the workplace?
Just me.
Just you?
Yeah, I'm a sole proprietor, and I've had an assistant before in the past, but right now I'm just currently a solopreneur. So I handle all aspects of my business. I utilize as much technology and relationship building to minimize the amount of work I have to do to be able to get the work done. So everything that comes in is very smooth. It's very manicured. What I produce on the back end to communicate with my clients is very smooth, very manicured. So I've tried to take my life and make it as efficient as possible to be able to do the stuff in the front and to do the stuff in the back and handle the processing in the middle. So, and then I also have one of the things that we're able to do, and I utilize it from time to time, is I'm able to have in my situation, if I've had an assistant before in the past, the main thing that the assistant has done for me is input data. So I deal with the clients, get the information in. I have the data that needs to be put into the tax program itself. I've had my assistants before in the past come in and do all the input. So I still have to make sure everything is there on the front end. They do the data input. I've got to double check the data input, and then I got to finalize everything on the back end with the client. And so I have the ability to utilize software where it's actually a program where I can take and scan all my documents from my clients. I can upload it to this service. This service will create an XML file that I can download into my tax program. Everything more or less gets spit out and fed into the tax return. So the W-2s get populated, all the other documents get populated. And then in the end, all I have to do is go in and check the work that the program has done. Is it accurate all the time? Nope. When you use an assistant to enter your data, is what they do accurate all the time? Nope. But in the end, if I ever get to the point where I have so much work to do, I can always utilize that service. And I think they charge me like 5 or 6 cents a page to be able to convert that over. So it's still cheaper than having a person, do the work, but where I am right now, I handle all of my business. So.
All right. And is it recommended, or do we need to learn about programming at all for this career?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, definitely. Yep. Yeah. Why not?
All right.
Yep. The more you can know, the more you can learn. Because I think when I first started out in accounting, they had, so at one point it was the big thing was to be able to link the client to the manufacturer to the suppliers and have all them work off of the same system, so that way they can share data back and forth. And so one of the biggest things back then was people would they do an accounting degree and /CIS degree, because all this stuff needs to be linked together. And so if and it's very similar now if you use QuickBooks Online, you're using QuickBooks, you want to link to the bank, it's going to link to the bank, download all the data. You need to make sure the data that comes in goes to where it needs to go, kind of a thing. So I think that if there's specialized things that need to be done, or technology that needs to be created, or tools that you can create on your own to be able to minimize the amount of work you have to do, it's easy to do that stuff through programming a computer. So if you can do that yourself, it's all useful. In the end, it also works in the same mindset of trying to solve problems. So it can't do anything to hurt you. I think it's always going to be beneficial to be able to do that. So if you ever have a chance to get exposure to programming, I'd recommend doing it. Why not?
All right. I think those are all the questions I have.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, cool. And so I don't know if I have anything to ask you here that we haven't discussed. So you told me about yourself.
Yeah.
So you've never done an interview like this before?
I have not.
Okay. All right.
So I was a little nervous at the beginning.
So how are you feeling now after we've had our little conversation, our discussion? Where are you at in your life? Do you feel that this was a great opportunity to be able to sit down and talk to somebody? Did you learn anything at all?
Definitely. Yeah,
Okay.
I've learned a lot. Thank you.
So what points did you pull out of this that you would consider to be game at this point?
Well, having the interaction skills between the client and yourself is a big point in this interview that you brought up. And there are certain skills I know from this class that I'm taking that I learned. There are some skills that cannot be taught. They're basically ingrained, or innate, I would say. But yeah, having the people skills is really important. And programming, I think I should look into, like you said, data entry and all that. I have to learn, and but
Yep. So it sounds like definitely really useful here for you to find it. And I'll tell you, I used to be so shy and so quiet. And what the
that's
one
me.
yeah, and so the one thing that got me out of that, and this is information that you can use. So when I was a kid, I had a hard time talking to girls. I had a hard time talking to guys. I had a hard time speaking up in class and all that.
Yeah.
And so when I first got a job, I got a job. So I probably spent 12 years of my life working in sales, and so I started out at the mall working at Video Concepts. There was another store called McDuff Electronics. These have all gone out of business, since then. And then I ended up working for the Good Guys. They went out of business. And I also worked for Circuit City at one point. They went out of business also as well. And so when when I was forced to go talk to customers and find out how they were doing, and because if I didn't sell them something, I couldn't eat. So I had to force myself to come up with a series of conversations and lyrics, is what I call them, to be able to have icebreakers, to be able to talk to people confidently. In my life, out of all the things I've learned, out of all my education, all my degrees, sales has been the most advantageous skill that I've ever learned in my life. Because whether you are trying to get a new client, whether you're trying to holler at a honey to try to go out on a date, whether you're trying to buy something on your end or deal with somebody, you're trying to sell yourself to an employer, it's all sales. And so it's a matter of you finding out what they need and then letting them know that you have those requisite skills to solve their problem. Because everything's all solving problems. So if an employer wants to hire an employee, they're looking for a product. You have to prove to them that you are that product. And so you do that by selling yourself. If you meet a really nice girl, she's really cool, she's attractive, you're kind of feeling her, you have to convince her that you are worth her spending her time with. That's all sales. And if you're dealing with your family or your friends, you're always constantly selling yourself with them as well. So I think it's one of the most useful skills. So in your job that you do right now, as you're a cashier, right? You were saying?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So as you're doing your cashier stuff, how do you interact with the people that come to your register?
Well, it's easy. I mean, I just greet them, say hi, how are you, and then just do my work, check, and just ask questions about the store. Have you found everything okay? And usually yes or no, I haven't found this item or that item. And I just print out the receipt and say, thank you very much, have a nice day.
Yep.
And it's just, I do that to every customer.
So it sounds like that you're required to do that.
Yes, it's part of customer service, but some cashiers just say hi, and then that's it.
Yep.
And then they say goodbye.
Yep.
And I guess I'm just trying to go above and beyond that. So
yeah. So what I recommend in those situations is that you have. So how many people do you help an hour, roughly, if you're cashiering?
I think at least. That's a good question. I honestly haven't counted that, but I would say about 20 or 30 at least.
Okay, because I was thinking maybe 20 or maybe 2 or 3 minutes per interaction. So your goal is you have a whole huge different demographic of folks that come through your line. Your goal is to try to be friends with each one of them that comes through. Yeah. So you want to of course do your basic stuff, but you want to try to find some way that you could make a connection with each one of these people. Whether it's through an item that they have that you've tried before, or they've got their kid there and and they're dressed up in a Halloween costume. It's like, oh wow, Batman, that was my favorite. You want to try to find some way to go above and beyond with each person.
I've seen some cashiers doing that too.
Yeah, and that would be so useful to help you be able to develop, you'll always be an introvert, but you want to be able to interact with a whole bunch of different people. So you're getting paid to ring stuff through the register, but you're also being paid to learn how to interact with folks of all different nationalities, all different sizes, all different shapes. All different backgrounds. Your goal is to try to become friends with each one of them. And then what you'll find over time is people, when they come to the store, they'll be like, oh, let me go to his line. Is Patrick here? Let me go get in Patrick's line.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't have the interaction on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
If they could find somebody they can connect with, it's going to be useful. So if you on your end are able to develop that skill over and over and over and over and over, eventually it'll be something that you'll still be an introvert, but it'll be something that you can access just like anything else, and it'll go
a normal routine.
Yeah, normal routine. Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you, one of the hardest things, even for me to do, is to be around people in situations where I don't know anybody at all.
Yeah,
but
that's a big one.
Yeah, but I'm always forcing myself. Matter of fact, in April, of all things, I'm going on a cruise by myself. Okay. Talk about being scared, terrified. Every cruise I've ever gone on before, I've always gone with somebody else, and so now I have to actually go on this cruise and find people to hang out and interact with and have fun with, so it's a challenge. So I'm even pushing myself all the time as well, so I would encourage you to do that all the time whenever you get an opportunity to do it.
All right. Making new friends.
Yeah. Not even making new friends. Just talk to people. Yeah. Just talk to people. Yeah. Because not everybody can be your friend.
All right.
Yeah. And so I think that's it. So I don't think I have any questions for you. And I think the only thing I'm curious is, how are the other students now in the accounting profession that you are sitting in class with?
That's the thing. I don't really know many accounting students.
Yeah.
Because all of my, I would say, classes, all of my business classes in college so far were completely online. So I don't know really anybody. I have met just 3 or 4 people at the most in-person classes who are trying to go for the same degree as me.
Yeah.
But I really don't know.
So are all the classes now online, or are they?
No. Half of them are online and either on Zoom or asynchronous, and half of them are in person. Okay. I honestly prefer in-person classes or completely online classes. I'd rather stay away from Zoom, to be honest.
Okay, yeah, I was going to suggest that. Try to get into the mosh pit of life and interact with people. So if you have an opportunity to take classes face-to-face with people,
I try to talk to people there. But.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, for sure. And so, and the way you can always, an icebreaker is always what you guys have in common. I went and hung out with one of my really good friends the other day for a birthday party. There was a whole bunch of people there I didn't know. Matter of fact, there were 3 clients there of mine that I've never met in person, that he has referred, to me. And so I got a chance to meet them. So that's kind of how remote I am. I meet people. I may run into people occasionally that I've never met before in person that they are actually my client. I met 3 of them that were there. But the one thing that I did was, it was a pressure situation. It was hard to be there around a bunch of people that I really didn't know. I found the one question to ask everybody. I said, hey, how do you know so-and-so? And everybody had a story, because they were all there for a reason. We were there to celebrate this birthday, but I was trying to find out from other people, how were they connected? And so in these conversations, like, oh, I've heard about you. And they would say, oh, you're their tax accountant. I've heard about you too. And so that's something that's always going to help you, is whenever you're dealing with a situation where you don't know a lot of people, try to talk about what you guys share in common, why you guys are there at the event. You can kind of build on it from there, for sure.
All right.
Yep. Always useful advice. Okay. So that's cool.
Yeah.
And then I think that's probably about all I have. So let me just say this. I've enjoyed having you here in my office. You're my first.
Yeah. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah.
It's a
most definitely.
pleasure.
And what I would hope is that this is not the end of our conversations. I would hope that as you continue on through your educational career, I think people will find a lot of use from this. Maybe people will be inspired from this conversation, for sure. But I think that as people move through their career, or as you move through your career, your next level is to finish at Los Medanos and then move on to a 4-year college. I would like to have you come back in and let's sit down and talk again and see where you are. And then hopefully when you get your 4-year degree and you're done, you're getting ready to go off and start working for the career that I would like to sit down and talk and see where you are again. And kind of along the way as you're progressing, maybe we can continue these conversations and keep them going.
All right.
Yep. So,
sounds good.
Yep. No, definitely. So that's it, guys. I'll go ahead and wrap up this segment here with my friend Patrick. We've enjoyed having this conversation for sure. Like I said, this is the first time I've done this, and I invite other clients that I have and other friends that have a business that you may want to come in and sit down and talk about. And in this format, reach out to me for sure. We can definitely do it. And so, for example, I've got a lot of clients that have different businesses. I would love to have some of them come in and sit down with me and talk and discuss about what they do for a living, their business, how they got started, how we know each other, some of the challenges that they're facing as a business owner, and some of the things that they may deduct. I would love to have those conversations with other people that are clients as well and put them into this particular format. So like I said, offering this as an open invitation to other people out there. Please be sure to reach out to me and let me know. And then I'll go ahead and any final thoughts at all, Patrick, before I wrap things up?
No. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, most definitely. I really appreciate you coming here. So I'll go ahead and get into the final segment here. And this is what you guys are always waiting for, when it comes to these conversations. How in the world are you able to find business opportunities and tax deductions? And just having a conversation here with my friend Patrick. There's a lot of them. So I'll tell you what, if one business opportunity for sure, business idea, I don't see why you can't start your own podcast. All you need is a couple microphones, a switcher, a couple cameras. Would you agree that you can start a business becoming a podcaster? Is it
Probably.
possible?
It's definitely possible.
Yeah, definitely possible. See, Patrick agrees. You can definitely do that. Also, too, there's another thing that I've seen a lot of lately that you can do. And Patrick's here asking me questions about my profession and my career. I don't see why you can't become a man on the street, the man on the street type interviews or lady on the street. Go up to complete strangers, ask them, what they do for a living, what type of career they're involved in, some basic questions about how they got started, if there's anything that they have as far as advice for other people, and make these real quick TikTok type segments. For sure, you can definitely do that. And if you have enough clients, or you have enough people that are following you, this is something you can definitely monetize and get paid on for sure. And then the other thing you can do too is, I'll tell you, this is my second iteration of studio. So my first one I put together, spent a lot of money on the equipment. It didn't work. So I had to go back to the drawing board and realize that everything that I'm trying to do now is based upon the XLR cable, and so, which is this cable right here up on top. In order to be able to make stuff work and be able to switch, you got to be able to have everything work through that individual cable. So if you have the knowledge and you have the training and you have the understanding to be able to set up a home studio, there's no reason why you can't make that something that you do for clients and charge them a fee. Something you think you can do, Patrick?
Yes.
Yep, definitely, for sure. So, and those are three different options that you have for starting a business based upon what we have going down in our conversation. And then finally, of course, there's always going to be things that you can deduct. All the equipment you guys see that I have here for the business, whether it's the microphone stands, I got the Rode mixer, I've got cloud lifters, I've got all tons of cables everywhere. Those things are all going to be deductible for your business. If you have computers, cell phones, other types of equipment that you use, furniture for your home office, those things are all going to be deductible. You'll be able to deduct your home office, of course. Those things are going to be deductible. Your cell phone, internet, those things are going to be deductible. If you need to do continuing professional education, as it relates to your individual business that you're set up, you need to go to the Rhodes Academy to be able to understand how to, link things and hook things up and work the back end of the software. Those things will all become deductible as well. If you got to travel back and forth to be able to see your clients, travel back and forth from your home office to your home studio, those things are all deductible. Is there anything you can think of that may potentially be deductible related to this topic of becoming a podcaster or setting these things up for other people? Anything you can think of?
No, honestly, no.
Okay.
I'm used to this.
What about the thing you got on your head right now?
Headphones.
Yeah, headphones.
Of course.
Yeah, headphones are going to be deductible. And what do you have there also down there?
Clipboard.
Yep, clipboard. Paper. Yep.
Yeah.
You got some pencils. Yep. That's all deductible. And right next to you, there's some water. Can you see it? Yep. Water. That's going to be deductible as well. So like I said, guys, I have an incredible and magnificent gift. Anything that we talk about here, there's always going to be a way to be able to find business opportunities as well as tax deductions everywhere we look. They're all going to be there. Make sure you guys book a consultation. I'm always here to help and assist you guys. And most importantly, be sure to go ahead and like this video. I appreciate that. And go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Is there any way, do you have any social media or anything you want to have people be able to reach out to you, Patrick?
I honestly don't use social media.
Okay. So that's a question in and of itself. We'll have another conversation on that another day. So that's it, guys. So go ahead and wrap everything up. Really appreciate you being here, Patrick. I hope you've enjoyed yourself. And like I said, the invitation is open for other people to be able to reach out to me and have this shared experience as well.
Yeah. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Awesome. I appreciate it so much. And then that's it, guys. I think I'll go ahead and wrap everything up and sign out. So I don't think there's anything else. And this is something I always do. You never watch my videos at all. I always take a second and drink some water here.
Stay hydrated.
Yeah, I got to stay hydrated. I'm trying to think, is there anything that we forgot to talk about?
I don't think so.
Is there anything we forgot to discuss?
Not that I can think of right now.
Is there anything that the audience would have a question of that we should have maybe answered or asked?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think so either. All right, guys, that's it. We're out. Take care.
All right. See you all later.
All right, take care, guys. Peace. All right, guys, go. The video's over. Come on, guys. I'll see you, Scram. All right. Take care, guys. Peace. All right.
All right.
Hey guys, thanks for sticking with me all the way to the end of this video. Visit me directly at andrereese.biz. 4 things to do: like, follow, subscribe, hit that bell. Stay safe, guys. Lift the glass to freedom. Stay woke and don't get TikTok. Take care. I will see you guys in the next video.
Bye.